taking steps forward. But is it really our internal motivation? If up to now you still haven't identified what your true motivation is, if you are frequently overwhelmed by anxiety, pressure, and start to doubt the meaning of the work you're doing, if within your heart you still have hesitations, struggles between the expectations of your parents, your partner, society, and the life you truly love, if these questions still persist, then the book, Why We Do What We Do, by Edward L. Deci, one of the 200 most eminent psychologists and founder of the theory of self-determination, based on more than 40 years of scientific research, will help you find the answers. Through this book, you will discover your true intrinsic motivation. Additionally, the co-author of this book is Richard Flaste, a former science and health editor for the New York Times. Many people have likely seen animal circus shows on television. To make the animals obey and follow commands, the trainer will feed them something they like. Over time, they form a conditioned reflex, believing that as long as they repeat an action as commanded, they will get their favorite treats. For them, the delicious snacks are rewards that encourage and motivate them. In reality, this type of motivation is present everywhere for us humans. Have you ever thought about why you have to work, even overtime, risking your physical and mental health? Some might answer, only by doing so can you receive the promised bonus from the company and leadership. For instance, if you complete this project successfully, you will get a raise. Or, if you get good grades in the exam, we will buy you a new bicycle. You've probably heard similar statements many times. This is a form of motivation through rewards. So, if there were no bonuses, would you voluntarily work hard? If there were no extra pay, would you be willing to work overtime? If there were no rewards, would you bury yourself in studying day and night to get into a top school? Rewards add strength to your motivation. Many people, including psychologists, agree that it is precisely these rewards in life that help people stay motivated to continue. However, while these incentives clearly help you strive harder, why do you sometimes feel tired and start to despise the status quo? After many years of research, the author found that the reason lies in the fact that rewards can weaken your intrinsic motivation. In an experiment from 1960, the author found students to participate. They were divided into two groups to play with jigsaw puzzles in a lab room with popular magazines at that time. In the two groups, one was promised a reward of $1 after playing, which was a considerable amount of money for students back then. The other group was not promised any reward, just invited to participate for fun. This experiment lasted 8 minutes. After it ended, the author discovered that those who were promised $1 mostly read the magazines after playing, feeling that the jigsaw puzzle was not interesting or worth continuing. For them, playing the jigsaw puzzle was just like a part-time job to earn money, simply doing it to get paid. In contrast, the group without a reward found the activity quite enjoyable throughout the participation and continued playing until the 8 minutes were up. From this experiment, the author concluded, for those who agreed to play with the condition of a reward, the puzzle was essentially a task they did to sell their time for money. For those without the $1 reward, they could play with genuine interest throughout the process. Therefore, rewards can harm our intrinsic motivation. If we work just for the reward, we will gradually lose interest in what we are doing. The reason why rewards can weaken intrinsic motivation is because they can act as disguised control. This is also what this book wants to warn you about. Please be cautious of the boundary between reward and control. A true reward should be a joy from the bottom of your heart when you give a gift to someone because you see positive growth in them. If you see a reward as an exchange, complete something to get rewarded. Otherwise, no, this is not a reward, but a form of control. A common example in society is a 6-year-old child being sent by their parents to learn the violin. The child dislikes the instrument and can't focus for long. Then they find an experienced teacher. This teacher uses a method of giving rewards for each completion. The child receives a secret treasure. These treasures are actually toys that children love. So the child becomes enthusiastic about going to class, but each time they only want to quickly finish the lesson. One day, the father finds the child practicing the violin vigorously but producing no melody. The father says, "Stop, don't play anymore." The child replies, "No, I must play, only then will I get the treasure." The father realizes something is wrong and says, "You don't have to practice today, I'll give you the treasure." The father completely breaks the teacher's rule. If you are a parent, can you recognize this? Let's assume simply that the child has no talent and let them continue to strive. Through this story, you see that the teacher used rewards to create a system where the child easily gets controlled by the treasures. The child completely loses their autonomy. In reality, from kindergarten to elementary and higher education levels, teachers and parents often set similar rules to control students and their children. Those who are obedient and follow rules get rewarded. Those who violate them get punished. At this point, many parents and teachers might say, "Without such rules, won't they become disorganized and undisciplined?" In reality, the author experimented with classroom models where rewards and punishments were not used as a control system. The students were guided by the teacher using different words in communication and instruction, explaining why something should be done, and letting them perform it as a right of autonomy. The classroom situation did not become chaotic, and voluntary motivation to act significantly increased. If you don't know how to encourage others, cannot help them find intrinsic motivation to act, you will tend to control, manipulate, and use rewards as an exchange. From family education, school, businesses, to a larger extent, society, there always exists a disguised reward system. It creates unwritten binding rules imposed on people. When there are invisible motivations driving you, at a certain point, you will automatically know what you have to do. For example, graduating from university means finding a job. Reaching a certain age means getting married. Starting a family means thinking about children. However, let me ask you this. Do you feel genuine happiness from the bottom of your heart when being encouraged by your parents and leaders to move forward? Bound by rules and control, are you willing to do what others want step by step? The author believes that whether it is a reward or control, the motivation you get from them is fragile and cannot become your intrinsic motivation. You will find that when you do something for material rewards, over time, your autonomy weakens. When a person's autonomy weakens, their intrinsic motivation decreases, and they will not feel joy or happiness during the process. Besides disguised control, threats can produce similar results. For example, parents often tell their children, "If you don't do your homework, you can't watch TV." Leaders tell employees, "If you don't complete this project, there will be no bonus this year." In their view, this is a strategy to create motivation. However, the results often backfire. Additionally, monitoring, competition, evaluation, and similar promoting behaviors also cause a lack of intrinsic motivation. When you understand this, you will realize why you are gradually losing motivation for work, study, or other activities in life. So, how to achieve intrinsic motivation? In other words, how to find an ideal job and develop our intrinsic motivation. The author points out that intrinsic motivation is activated when three crucial psychological needs are met: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. The first important factor is autonomy. As analyzed above, we gain autonomy when not excessively controlled by external rewards and punishments. At this point, you need to examine yourself. Am I acting just to achieve a certain reward? Are you working just for money? Studying just for grades? Participating in activities just for a certain reputation? If your motivation comes from these things, you will increasingly be controlled and lose your autonomy. Here is another concept called detachment. Detachment refers to a state where you are disconnected from yourself, like being present physically but not mentally. You work, but deep inside you always have a certain resistance. You can't focus, and studying is a struggle to enter a working state, or despite trying hard, you still feel difficulties and suffering. In contrast to detachment is the state of immersion. This is a state where you can work voluntarily, genuinely, in harmony with yourself, and integrate with your surroundings. When we fall into a state of detachment, we usually live in two terrible environments, one without motivation and the other as an automated machine. You can observe that many people around us are in these states daily. They throw themselves into work, over time, making more money, achieving accomplishments, but inside they continually feel exhausted and empty. These two states usually result from the excessive effect of losing control. So remember, the first step to regain true motivation is to have autonomy. Next, to gain autonomy, you must have awareness of your competence. Doing something from genuine interest and bringing intrinsic motivation must meet two crucial factors. First, you must have the potential and ability to perform. Second, you must not be controlled by external factors. During this process, opinions, comments, and expectations of others have no effect on you. When you truly care, you will be full of energy and can work passionately. You act not because others say you should or should not do it this way. You act not because of your parents or anyone forcing you, not because of money, fame, power, competition, racing with anyone. At this point, you know that even if this work does not meet the expectations of the outside world, you can still persist. In fact, the more competent you are, the more attached you will be to that work, and this is also the work you truly want to do. The third crucial psychological need is relatedness. To achieve complete motivation, you need to build connections with others. Humans cannot live in isolation. We must have connections to feel happiness. However, building connections does not mean you cannot be independent. In this book, the author has a friend who spends a week each month at the beach fishing and living alone there. But when he returns home, he does so not because he hates his home, but because he can fully connect with his family and society. This is the connection that does not conflict with independence. Connection here means that whatever job you do, it should create value and help others. If you work in a company, your value will be determined by your job's target audience, like customers, consumers, etc. Your value is not determined by your boss, HR, or colleagues. There is a formula: happiness equals competence combined with autonomy, which then creates value. If you want to feel happiness in life, you need to have the competence to do your job and voluntarily do it. Finally, create value and connect with others. When these three things combine, you will have happiness. By now, you probably realize that the most important point in driving intrinsic motivation is autonomy. In this final part, we will explore additional methods to achieve true autonomy. First of all, I emphasize that it is extremely important. Start exploring what you want to do. Start working, thinking about jobs you care about and love. Before doing anything, consider the motivation behind your actions and discover what intrinsic motivation is. I can give an example of two women wanting to lose weight. One because her husband criticized her, and one because she sees her current overweight state negatively affecting her health. Which of these motivations comes from within? That's right, it's the motivation of the second woman. Many people don't understand why they continually drink alcohol, play games, smoke. In fact, the purpose of these activities is to escape pressure, bring comfort, reduce loneliness within them. To successfully change behavior, you need to start by discovering what intrinsic motivation is. At this point, to change, you must be sincere with your thoughts. Next, the second thing, we need to learn to accept constraints and find autonomy even within control. It is very difficult to completely escape the control of the world. Parents, teachers, leaders, partners will place pressure on you. But you need to know that even though the environment strongly influences us, you can still change it yourself. Even if parents teach incorrectly, schools provide inadequate education, and company culture is oppressive, you can still change your approach. For example, if you cannot change your current job and always have to work overtime, thinking you are unlucky to have a boss who constantly makes you work overtime, thinking you will leave as soon as you have the chance, This thinking only makes you continue to work overtime in misery, changing nothing at that moment. But if you change your thinking, I am dedicating my time to developing myself, I will surely become an expert in my job. This small change in mindset will make you feel different about work. However, it is easier said than done. To change this, you need to learn to control your emotions. Controlling emotions does not mean suppressing pain or anger or pretending to smile and not get angry. This only works like a time bomb that can explode at any moment. Controlling emotions is actually a process of reevaluating yourself to find freedom, escaping the pull of your ego. If you see position and salary as everything, your ego will follow. When there is any threat from outside, your emotions will easily be triggered. But when you can observe and reevaluate, you won't be easily drawn into it. Finally, we need to change our perspective a bit. How to truly encourage and motivate others. We know that rewards and punishments have consequences. The author encourages you to support and give others autonomy, but it does not mean indulgence. So what is the specific method to truly encourage others to rise by intrinsic strength? The first thing is to give choice. Allow children, students, employees to participate in decision-making. For instance, your child doesn't want to do homework at night, saying they will do it in the morning. If parents force the child to finish it now before going to bed, the child's resistance will immediately appear. So to adjust, you can agree with the child and suggest they wake up earlier tomorrow to do the homework, because only then can they have enough time for other activities. Let the child experiment with waking up early and then ask them how they feel. Do you feel sleepy? If the child says they are a bit tired, you can continue to suggest, then you should manage your time yourself. This way, the child will gradually change, either finishing homework in the evening or going to bed early and waking up early to do homework without feeling tired during the day. Here, you don't need to argue or force them. Let the child discover and experience for themselves. When there is more room for choice, the child's autonomy and motivation will gradually grow. Another method to motivate others is to support autonomy but set boundaries. This means giving them the right to decide, but they must also take responsibility for all the consequences of their choices. This method can be applied to anyone. Everyone can feel that we are born free but cannot live without principles. Then, you need to clearly distinguish between consequences and punishment. If an employee does not complete their task, a child does not do something, let them face the consequences of their actions. However, do not punish without reason or bring up unrelated issues to reprimand. Some people often say, "If you keep doing this, I will no longer trust you." Is this distrust a consequence or a punishment? Of course, it is an unclear punishment. If there is no trust, then end the cooperation. If continuing to cooperate, maintain trust in the other person. The final point in motivating others is to provide rewards along with recognition. These rewards should support positive behavior, not control. This is a very important point emphasized by the author in this book. Mark Twain has a great quote. "In life, there are two important days, the day you are born and the day you understand the meaning of life." From the content of this book, you may understand that the meaning of your life lies in whether you have autonomy or not, and happiness is the ability to pursue true autonomy. But ultimately, what we pursue is to move from autonomy to personal freedom. Many people want financial freedom, the freedom to buy a house, the freedom to buy anything they want, endless freedom. But when they have billions, they still find it insufficient to achieve the freedom they desire and continue to force themselves to do things they don't want to do. But that is not true freedom. The more a person pursues personal goals from external motivation, the more they lose true freedom. The author says that freedom means true autonomy. It means truly acting without being bound by any rigid internal systems or external control. Freedom means having the desire to act autonomously and being guided by one's true self. May we all realize that human weakness is easily being controlled and wanting to control others. But you must believe that no matter how chaotic the outside world is, you can still create autonomy for yourself. I hope that each day you will have at least a few moments of being immersed in the flow state from work to life so you can realize you are integrated with it, not detached or living in pain. And this is also when your intrinsic motivation is ignited. Remember the quote from The Alchemist: "When you truly want something, the whole universe will conspire to help you achieve it." Thank you for listening. If you find this video useful, please share it with those who need it. Give me a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to see my latest videos. Once again, thank you, and see you in the next books. Conclusion: From Autonomy to Freedom. Part 3: How to Achieve Autonomy Power. Taking steps forward. But is it really our internal motivation,